From a life of parties and open bars to life now behind bars. In the past week, P. Diddy.
Oh, hell. Y'all hit the thumbs up button. P. Diddy. Did he do it? Y'all tell me what you think.
Diddy has seen some major lifestyle changes. And now we're getting reports that Diddy isn't eating while in jail. And it could be because he thinks someone's trying to poison his food.
Oh, hell.
Plus, he's been transferred to a protective unit that already houses convicted fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried. So what's it like for a high-profile defendant like Diddy to be locked up in one of the most run-down and violent jails in the U.S.? For that, we'll turn to criminal defense attorney and law and crime legal analyst Imran Ansari, who repped other high-profile...
You're in jail. What the hell do you expect? I mean, the jail doesn't need to have 5 stars. You're supposed to not want to go there. It's supposed to be a deterrent to do crazy ass things. Oh, this jail doesn't meet my standards of living. Well, no shit. Really? Wow. Well, what should we do about that? This is crazy.
Profile defendants like
that's like people go to the hospital and they're like, oh, I would like everything. It's like that H doesn't stand for Hilton on this hospital. This is crazy as hell.
Like Harvey Weinstein and 50 Cent. All right, so big news out of New York, where P. Diddy has been held for more than a week in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. This comes after Diddy's arrest last Monday, following his indictment by a federal...
I bet you there's some nurses in here that feel the same. Thumbs up, y'all.
Grand jury on charges of racketeering conspiracy.
Jerry, no, I have no clue. I don't like watch that stuff or listen to that stuff.
Trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in...
Sugar baby, thank you. Y'all hit me with them roses. That's the big rose.
The 14-page indictment lays out some pretty strong claims against Diddy, alleging he's guilty of trafficking, force...
What the hell? Did y'all see that? It said like Diddy, Puff Daddy Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. What the
labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The indictment goes on to allege Diddy showed a pattern of abuse, mostly against women, that
you should be in jail for that outfit.
Included verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, including the use of extensive group tactics. There's also...
Oh, hell. By the way, TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new here. Keep tapping the screen. My name's Patrick. If you like true crime, I'm live every single night, y'all. Although I was in Quebec for like a week, so I wasn't live every single night this past week. But I'm here. I'm home. I'm Friday. So here we go. Keep it going.
Mention of something referred to as freak-offs, which are described as elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, during, and off.
Oh, hell no, y'all. He arranged, directed, electronically recorded, and he was in the corner, busting ropes on the floor. This is crazy as hell.
Electronically recorded. During these so-called freak-offs, Diddy would often drill his victims, sometimes without their knowledge, to keep them obedient and compliant. Then, Diddy allegedly required these victims to have sex with prostitutes, and oftentimes, he recorded that too. Again, these recordings were made without the victim's knowledge or consent.
Oh my God. Cheryl, hello from Edmonton. There we go.
These freak-off sessions
Oilers
were facilitated by Diddy's associates that the indictment refers to as part of the Combs enterprise.
Yeah, Ms. Moon, that's how you have to say it on here.
These associates would procure the workers, book the hotel rooms where these freak-offs would take place, and stock the rooms with necessities like baby oil and lube. Now is a good time to note that...
Oh, Lord have mercy.
When federal authorities executed
bagels and shit.
Search warrants at 2 of Diddy's properties, they collected 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil, which puts into perspective the severity and scope of these freak-offs. Also during these raids,
that is nuts, literally.
Federal authorities collected digital evidence of this alleged illegal activity. And they kind of had a heads up that Diddy was recording some of this. Multiple civil lawsuits filed against Diddy starting in November of last year allege he assaulted the plaintiffs and often recorded it.
They're coming out, y'all. There's so many that are coming out now. I saw another one today from a lady that it was like 20 years ago that it happened. And she was like, yep.
The bombshells were first dropped by Cassandra Ventura, or the singer Cassie, when she filed civil suit last November. Cassie dated
Oh, and it settled the next day.
Diddy.
That video in the hotel, y'all know what I'm talking about. That was crazy as hell. And now they release that, and then they start and then all these other things, you know, and now it's like people see him as a dirtbag. So no matter what comes out, as insane as it sounds, most people are gonna go, he's a dirtbag. I don't put that past him. He's a dirtbag. Ooh.
For years, and she alleges he was physically, verbally, and sexually abusive toward her during that time. Her lawsuit was settled just one day after it was filed, but that was just the start of the civil suits against Diddy. Since 20.
By the way, TikTok, if you want to watch these videos, you can actually see them on YouTube. Y'all come over, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's called The Mystery Project. Just search for The Mystery Project on YouTube. You'll find it. Subscribe to it. Let's keep going.
2023, 11 civil suits have listed P. Diddy as the defendant. And now one federal indictment lists him as the defendant too. After his arrest, Diddy pleaded not guilty to the charges. And
that don't even look like him in the court sketch. Holy hell, that man is going through it right now. That is crazy as hell. Look at him. Look at his face right there.
And was twice denied bail. His legal team offered a pretty sizable bail package too, saying that Diddy would put up $50 million for his release.
Yeah, because he was trying to disappear.
This would have been co-signed by Diddy, his sister.
What do you think?
His mom, his 3 adult sons, and the mothers of 2 of his children. The defense also suggested that Diddy would have major restrictions on travel, a GPS monitor, and even limitations on female visitors. All this was presented last week, but U.S. District Judge Andrew L. Carter said no, arguing this bail package was insufficient to guarantee the safety of the community or to maintain the integrity of the case. So that meant Diddy was remanded to jail, specifically the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the jail, often referred to as just MDC, houses 1,218 inmates right now, of both genders. But according to Diddy's legal team, the jail is notoriously dangerous and run down. Diddy's attorney,
it's a jail.
Mark Agnifilo, argues there are major issues with the jail, citing violence, poor conditions, overcrowding, and staffing issues.
Oh, man. Oh, damn, it sounds like a jail.
He also cited some startling statistics. 2 inmates have been killed at MDC since this June, and at least 4 inmates have died by suicide over the past 3 years. On top of that, 6 staff members have been charged with criminal activity over the past 5 years. Diddy's team wants him transferred to a different jail in New Jersey, but Judge Carter says it's up to the Federal Bureau of Prisons to make that decision. So for now, MDC is where Diddy calls home. It's usually where defendants are housed after their arrest and as they're awaiting trial in either Manhattan or Brooklyn. But the issues at MDC are so
crazy as hell. Tracy, yeah, I saw the picture of the little bath, or like the little pool thing filled with all the... Man, that was crazy. I thought it was photoshopped. I was like, there's no way that can be real. There's no way that can be real. I guess it's real.
Severe that some judges even refuse to send defendants there at all. But even with its less than desirable conditions, MDC is no stranger to high-profile inmates. Previously housing R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Sam Bankman-Fried, who's actually there right now. Bankman-Fried was convicted of fraud and money laundering last November after the collapse of his crypto.
Oh, I remember that one, yeah. Michelle, no, it wasn't a bucket. That was a damn kiddie pool. Oh, no.
Currency exchange, FTX. And as it happens, Bankman-Fried and
Carly, it was filled with things that you would buy at a shop. If you know what I'm saying. Well, I guess everything you buy. You know what I'm trying to say. Toys. but for people that are over the age of 18.
Diddy are being housed in this
It was crazy as hell.
same part of MDC, a unit for inmates that requires.
Imagine being the DNA guy in that crime scene. You go in like, man, I quit. I'm not trying to test all that. No, I quit.
Special protection. That's people like Diddy.
That dude's going to spend the next 3 decades collecting DNA samples off all that stuff.
Or Bankman-Fried, who are high-profile names, but it also cares for inmates who may need protection as they assist with ongoing investigations in open cases. Since Diddy's move to this area of MDC, there are reports that he's spoken briefly to his children over the phone. Diddy has 7 children, ranging in age from 33 to 23 months old.
Diddy has a kid that's 33? What the hell?
According to reports, Diddy is concerned about how his kids
How old is that
are
dude?
handling his arrest and detainment. And meanwhile, they're allegedly in a state of crisis after only experiencing Diddy as a loving, devoted father. Meanwhile, there are other reports that Diddy has stopped
A ray of
eating.
sunshine.
This could be because he isn't enjoying the food.
Every time he walked into a room, he lit it up. He was born in 69. He's 54.
But it also could be because he's paranoid that someone is out to get him and may slip poison into his food. But is that likely or even possible? And what are the perils of
Anything's possible.
MDC, especially for a high-profile defendant like Diddy? Here's where we have to bring in criminal defense attorney Imran Ansari, who represented other celebs like 50 Cent or Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, bring him in the stuff they took out of his house to eat. You got plenty of oil. Just oh.
He says Diddy's arrest wasn't surprising.
I think we all saw the writing on the wall with Diddy in terms of the civil case leading to a federal investigation. We saw the raids on his residence. And I think that the indictment that we see now wasn't so much a surprise. And it was something that we expected arrest was going to come down the line.
Now,
thanks for the follows, y'all. Hit that follow button on TikTok. See some new people coming in. And come over to YouTube if you want to watch the videos with us. We're live right now on YouTube as well. Just search The Mystery Project. Let's keep going.
now he has been arrested. He's been denied bail, so he is behind bars in Brooklyn. And there's been a lot of articles about this. His attorneys are saying that the conditions there at MDC are horrific, horrendous.
It's jail. It's federal prison. My God. Would you think he was checking into the Ritz-Carlton?
They're not appropriate to stay in. What is your experience?
That's the point. If prison was appropriate to stay in, people would want to go there. Why is that like just pissing me off that they're saying that?
Experience there? Is it really as horrendous as they're saying?
I've had many clients who were housed in MDC Brooklyn, and I can tell you the reports that the facility is something that is less than desirable is 100% accurate. There's been a lot of reports of it being below standard in terms of prison standards. And of course, a prison isn't meant to be a comfortable place, but of course, they have to provide the basic human rights to their inmates. And MDC Brooklyn has been plagued with overcrowding, with violence, with poor food, with poor cleanliness. And P. Diddy, who is in a protective custody unit, is still experiencing all the bad things that MDC Brooklyn has to offer, and it doesn't have a lot to offer in terms of comfort or things that an inmate would be looking for.
Oh man, I'm so upset that the inmates in federal prison aren't comfortable. Man, that really sucks. I hope I can sleep tonight knowing that federal prisoners, the prisoners of the federal government, aren't just absolutely comfortable tonight.
So obviously, anyone who's behind bars is hoping to have a nice place to sleep, food, comfort, as you were saying. But is this place really dangerous? I know that they listed a couple of statistics that there had been several, even potentially So is it possible that he could be in danger?
So he's in protective custody now in the
prison. Is he in danger? You're in danger driving to work on the freeways and stuff. You're in danger going to the mall. You're in prison. Of course it's dangerous. That's where they house dangerous people. That's why you don't want to go to prison.
Unit, but his lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, pointed out recent events in that prison. And MDC Brooklyn has been plagued with a lot of violent acts. It's been really criticized in terms of the conditions that prison inmates have to live with. And certainly, Diddy would be facing potential dangers because a prison, by virtue of it being a prison, is not necessarily a good place to be. It's
not necessarily a good place to be. This is crazy.
It's not a safe place to be.
No
but particularly this facility is known to have a lot of problems in the last few years.
What would it look like for Diddy in this protective care unit, I guess? He's separated from general population, but what is his day-to-day like?
So Diddy's life in the SHU, in that specialized housing unit where he's been placed for his own safety, is going to be something that's rather routine and mundane. He's not going to be necessarily even enjoying some of the things that general population, aka Gen Pop, enjoys, because he's being in a special segregated unit for his own safety.
Aww.
Which means he's going to be under more constant observation by guards. His comings and goings in and out of his cell for recreational time and for meal time are going to...
Sounds like there was plenty of recreational time before. So, innocent until proven guilty, but dear God, if half of that stuff is true, say only 500 bottles of baby oil were for nefarious purposes, I don't feel bad for you sitting in jail. This isn't comfortable. Okay. Maybe that's what these people were saying too. Back in those days.
To be more scrutinized. So although the
getting heated, y'all about to rage flip the desk.
SHU unit is...
YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. Let's get 100 likes. Oh, we got it. Let's get 200 likes.
Is technically for the prison inmate's safety, and of course, Diddy being a high-profile inmate requires that. It also means more restrictions for that inmate.
Following Diddy's arrest, we reported news that he was placed on suicide watch. It's unclear whether he was actually suicidal or if this was just a safety precaution. But we do know a mental health professional visits his cell at least several times a day. Is that possible for Diddy? He may not have these ideations, but it's just for his safety.
It's pretty routine, especially for a high-profile.
They go from being like, yo, what's up? Let's go to Cambodia. And they just leave to like, no, now you live in a cage.
Inmate to be placed on watch, especially when they're going from a dramatic change from their life outside prison to a life inside prison, something that they may not be used to. It's typical and routine for an inmate like that to be placed on suicide watch for their own safety.
Whoa.
And the prison kind of wants to make sure that, you know, when all eyes are on them, that nothing happens on their watch. So we do know that Diddy's lawyers did say that he's ready and willing to fight the charges and ready to fight the allegations against him, and he's of sound mind. So it doesn't surprise me that he's placed on watch by corrections simply for his own safety and in order for the prison to sort of CYA.
So we're talking about this case simply because Diddy is a huge celebrity, a high-profile defendant who's now placed behind bars, a far cry from the mansions that we're used to seeing him in. What are some of the issues with having a high-profile defendant? Does it make things more dangerous, more difficult?
Damn.
What do you think?
Thanks for the follows, y'all.
Well, being high-profile in prison, based on knowledge from some of my own clients, is somewhat worrying for them, especially when they are coming from an environment which was a polar opposite from what they are experiencing in prison. So it's a shock. It's frightening. And of course, they have to deal with the real reality now that they are behind bars and they're facing criminal charges. It also presents a added sort of, hurdle for us as attorneys who are defending a client like that, because we are obviously cognizant of the big change in their life that they're dealing with psychologically, and then also obviously the legal aspects of things, but also the court of public opinion. You are constantly looking at how the public is receiving your client or a defendant when they are high profile, and you are sort of tending to their needs because now they are dealing with such a dramatic change in their life. They went from mansion to prison, and sometimes that's a hurdle along with the legal fight all its own.
And then,
as it should be.
Then there's the question of Diddy's communication. Who's he making contact with from the inside? So Diddy has pleaded not guilty to these charges. So of course we're expecting him to bring a strong defense with his attorneys, his team. Obviously they're going to be preparing. But does it add a layer of challenge, the fact that Diddy is behind bars? What does it look like for attorneys hoping to meet with him? Would they have
Who is that? Is that one of his sons?
their own rooms? Would they talk over those phone things we see in movies? What would it really look like?
So when you have a client who is behind bars, you are meeting with them on legal visits, and you are talking to them on a secured line, which is an attorney or legal call where it's not being recorded and it's afforded that privilege, that attorney-client privilege, that privacy there. But it does present hurdles when having a client behind bars, because you're sort of really reliant on the prison schedule, B, the prison calls. You can't call your client, they're calling you. So even if you have something that you need to talk to your client about urgently, you got to wait until you get that prison call from prison, or you're making that visit yourself to jail to have a legal visit. So it's always easier to represent someone who has been out on bail, because they could come to your office or you could visit them, or even if they're on house arrest, they're typically allowed to come to your law office. So it does present that added hurdle when you're representing someone who is remanded or in jail. But of course, we have to do what we have to do as defense attorneys, and we make it work.
Oh, man, you got to leave your office and go to the jail to talk to your client that's in jail.
Talked about the side of his defense, obviously speaking with his legal team, but what about his family? We have seen some reports that Diddy has had brief phone calls with his children. What would that look like? Is it a phone call privilege system that he would get more calls as time goes on if he has good behavior, that kind of thing?
So inmates are afforded time to talk to their family, of course, family visits, but they are restricted in terms of certain hours where they can make that call, certain amount of minutes they have in terms of making a call, which is a non-legal call, and also visitation hours and things like that. And of course, it's a massive shock to the family. It's not only a shock to the defendant or the inmate, but the family is now dealing with the roots of reality that someone that they were able to communicate with, whether it be, Diddy's children calling him or seeing him. Now there's all these restrictions around it, and it's happening in a very traumatic time. So it also presents a real change of circumstances, a real stressor for a defendant or inmate's family when they see someone that they love. No matter what they're accused of, no matter what the allegations are, now they have to go through the prison system in order to see them or even speak to them.
That's what happens when the people you love make horrible decisions.
Spoke about these phone calls between Diddy and his attorneys. Obviously, those ones aren't going to be recorded. But in regards to the phone calls with his family, is this something that's going to be recorded and something prosecutors or even the defense are going to keep an eye on?
A phone call between an inmate and a non-attorney, like a family member or a friend, those are subject to being recorded. So a defense attorney, I'm sure P. Diddy's attorneys, Mark Agnifilo and his team, have told him, if you're going to have any phone conversations with family, friends, or non-attorneys, you got to be careful with what you say. It's going to be recorded, and it could be used against you,
right?
Whatever you say in those recordings. As a prosecutor or former prosecutor, when I was a prosecutor, I used jail phone calls in my case in chief. I used it as evidence against defendants because we would receive those recordings. And sometimes people are not careful about what they
like that one dude with all the tattoos on his face and everything.
say to people on the phone.
What was that guy's name?
As a defense attorney, I always tell my clients, do not talk on the phone openly to friends and family because it's being recorded. You never want to say something that could come back and used against you in
Heather, yeah, that dude.
the court of law. So yes, those phone calls are not subject to attorney-client privilege. They're fair game for prosecutors and law enforcement. So you got to be careful to what you say on a non-privileged line like that.
But there's still the question of whether Diddy's eating while in jail. Going back to Diddy's day-to-day life behind bars, there have been some reports that he's not eating. This could be maybe because the food isn't up to his standards.
Oh, hell.
It's not what he likes. But also there are some potential reports.
I don't have my baby oil. I need my baby oil on these saltine crackers. I can't get any of this food now without my baby oil. Why do you think there was 1,000 bottles of it?
That he's fearing someone may poison his food. What do you make of all that?
Man.
So having been to MDC Brooklyn to visit my clients and talking to them about their experience inside and what they're eating and whatnot, I could tell you that they're not getting any Michelin-starred or gourmet food in prison. So
yeah,
you got to think on a practical standpoint, a realistic standpoint, Diddy's probably used to really good food and the best food that money could buy. You know, of course, he had the resources for that. So it could be that the food is just so reprehensible to him and he's not, you know, he doesn't have a taste for it, that he's not eating because of that. Or it could be a genuine fear that he has that someone may be out to get him. And then he doesn't want.
Oh, man, they threw Genuine in there. You hear that? Little Genuine. Come on it. Jump on it. Ready. My pony.
Want to take that risk. Of course, this is all speculation, Sarah, but that could be a chance. Of course, there's the notorious incident in near history with Jeffrey Epstein, where there are conspiracy theories that rather than he was actually killed in prison. I don't know what's going on in Diddy's head. I don't know, you know, if it's the food that's being bad, if he's not eating it, or there's some other fears going on there.
Yo, what about that case? Do you think he did it to himself? The J. E. Stein dude? Do you think he did it to himself, or do you think somebody did it to him? Thumbs up if you think it was not self-inflicted. You think it was some fishy behaviors going on there. Thumbs down. No, he did it.
But generally, the food in prison is not palatable per se, and that could be the reason why.
Yeah, because it's supposed to just keep you alive.
If that's true.
Diddy's team has made it super clear that they do not want their client there at MDC. Is it possible that he's transferred to a different facility ahead of trial?
I would imagine that P. Diddy's defense team, Mark Agnifilo, and his team would be doing everything and anything to try to get Diddy out, right? They would probably
look, y'all, Dan, that's a whole bunch of thumbs up.
Be appealing, and I believe they are, the remand of Diddy and trying to get him out in a
Man, that is the craziest looking outfit.
Less restrictive and non-custodial detention, right? That could be house arrest where he's being monitored, or maybe to a different facility altogether. And I can speak that from clients that we've had at my firm and that I've represented, we've had inmates and clients go from one facility that may be less than desirable to another facility where they may be getting better care. Let's say if they have a medical problem, or just generally we're making a pitch to get them out of jail, that one prison to another. Of course, that's all in the discretion of prison officials, and it's not a given. But I would imagine that Diddy's attorneys are doing everything, A, to get him out of jail, right, and to have this remand reconsidered, and also perhaps have him transferred to a different facility, which is less harsh than MDC Brooklyn. But again, you got to really show a real good cause for prison officials to use their discretion,
right,
to take an inmate out of one prison to another, because you got to remember, Sarah, that Diddy is supposed to be treated the same way as any other inmate in that facility with no special treatment. I think it's interesting, this Diddy case, to show how a civil lawsuit really brought on a deeper investigation into Diddy, the allegations against him, and ultimately led to this indictment. And it is a serious indictment. It's not to be taken lightly. He is in jail.
Right.
And it's always interesting to see someone who was at the top sort of having this, meteoric fall to this level. Of course, his attorneys are going to go out there swinging in his defense, and prosecutors, of course, are going to be standing by their case. But it's fascinating to see someone who was so embraced by the public for his music, for his persona, now finding himself in the harsh facility like MDC Brooklyn. And it's also a little surprising to me that he actually got remanded to MDC Brooklyn, because they were actually giving a decent bail package to prosecutors, to the court, for, house arrest and putting up collateral and whatnot. So we'll see if that's going to be reversed or looked at with a change of circumstances, what have you. But it's going to be an interesting case to see. And whenever you have a celebrity like this, the public are going to be watching every move, both in court, by the prosecutor,
right,
and by the defense.
After Diddy's arrest, he pleaded not guilty to the federal charges against him. A statement from his legal team reads, quote, "Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. He is an imperfect person, but is not criminal."
Man.
To his credit, Mr. Combs has been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. Diddy is expected back in court on October 9th. We'll bring you the updates then, and of course, whatever develops before that next hearing.